The All About Nothing podcast may have language and content that isn't appropriate for some. Listener discretion is advised. Recorded live from the Maddie Johnson Podcast Studio at GOT Sound Studio in Columbia, South Carolina. This is the All About Nothing podcast with Barrett Gruber, Zach King, and Trent Clark.
All right, welcome back to the All About Nothing podcast. Trent Clark here with me.
I'm here live this week.
Yeah, this week. Guess who's not?
Zach.
Yeah, Zach is educating himself, I guess, with...
He's learning that the earth is flat.
I sincerely hope that that's one of the questions that gets asked during this. No, Zach is actually at the Neil deGrasse Tyson show here in Columbia. I'm hoping that they get to do like a meet and greet or something like that, because I instructed Zach.
You think he paid for the meet and greet tickets?
I don't know what he pays for.
I don't think he paid for the meet and greets. He probably just paid for the regular tickets.
I don't want Zach to take this the wrong way, but he gets away with not paying for a lot of stuff. Yeah, Zach is at the Neil deGrasse Tyson show. I instructed him that if there is a meet and greet or any sort of like, because I assume Neil deGrasse Tyson is like a comedian. He goes to the back of the room and hands out or sells T-shirts and CDs and stuff like that.
Or it should probably be a segment in there where they give like random people a mic and be like, "Hey, Neil, answer my question."
Yeah. So what I instructed Zach was to make sure to give Neil one of our business cards.
Okay.
And I told him that what we need is
on the pod.
Well, yeah, that, but mostly because I doubt he would do it. But who knows?
Who knows, Neil?
Yeah,
he's been on a lot of different podcasts.
That's very true. But I said if we could at least get like a shout out, just say, "Hey, this is Neil deGrasse Tyson, and you're listening to the All About Nothing podcast."
Yeah, he can do that with the little voice memo thing,
or with his phone.
Yeah,
he can just record that and send it to us. So ultimately, that's what I'm hoping. Listen, thank you very much for listening to the show. You please subscribe to the show. Subscriptions drive all of our searches. That's how we get new listeners. Also, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts and you think we're worth it, go ahead and give us one of those 5-star reviews. If you're not on Apple Podcasts, then just reach out to us, tell us you're listening, tell us where you're from, that sort of thing. And ultimately, if you want to record a short little bumper or whatever, just say this is so and so from somewhere.
Correct.
Like my friend Jenny did for the episode last week.
She did.
That was great. So
thank you, Jenny.
Shout out to Jenny from Athens. Shout outs also, friend of the pod, Daniel Duncans, reached out to me and said, great episode this week. Also said that he was glad we were back. Another shout out, friend of the pod, John Kosas Jr., broadcast and media relations manager. He's written a book, and it's going to be released on June 12th of this year. The book is titled Play-by-Play from the Minors, Profiles of Baseball Broadcasters from Scranton to Yakima. Basically, it's just it's a book of stories that he's compiled from broadcasters in baseball and whatnot, of events and things like that. So I've ordered some of his books. We're gonna get those signed.
Okay.
And we'll also have John on in a few months just to talk about the book and promote that as well.
And see if he wants me to DJ yet.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Hey, I want to say I watched a movie this week that I had not seen come out. I didn't realize that it was out, but you know who Jonathan Majors is?
No.
Okay. If you watch the Loki series.
Okay, the main character?
No. So that's
Loki.
Probably
the only person I don't know. I just know what he looks like.
Jonathan Majors is the black guy that plays He Who Remains, or he is going to become Kang.
Okay.
He was in Love. What was the show? There was a show on HBO. It was like Love Country or something like that.
Oh yes.
Jonathan Majors.
Okay.
I think Jonathan Majors right now is the best actor currently in movies.
It's out of him and Denzel's son.
Yeah, I will admit, I think Denzel's son. I can't remember what his name is, but he's fantastic as well.
I think he's supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, he's supposed to be in the new Ant-Man.
So that's Jonathan Majors.
That's Jonathan Majors.
Yeah. Jonathan Majors is in the new Ant-Man.
Oh, my God. So who is Denzel's?
He was in...
Yes. Okay.
Denzel's son was in that Chris Nolan movie. I haven't watched it all the way through because, in all honesty, it kind of... I couldn't hang on.
Okay.
Is what and it's my fault. It's
so Jonathan Majors is the bad guy in Ant-Man.
Yes.
He is Kang the
He
is a very good actor.
Correct. Jonathan Majors is fantastic. Anyway, the movie's
now
called
I know who you're talking about.
Devotion. It came out last year. Okay. It's starring Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powers. Majors and Powers play a pair of naval aviators during the Korean War. So obviously, between the racism against Majors as being a pilot, a naval pilot, and him, how he confronts that. and the action scenes of the planes flying and whatnot. It's so cool.
I think it's better than Top Gun, the new one.
As you're asking me,
yeah,
my reaction to Top Gun was, eh.
A lot of people say it's one of the best movies,
and I've heard that, and I don't disagree that it's a really good.
I have yet still to watch it.
It's a really good Top Gun movie. We ought to watch it.
Yeah, we should watch it.
But Top Gun Maverick was a really good Top Gun movie. As far as them reaching out in any sort of way, shape, or form to be like a legitimately good story told.
Yeah,
it was the exact same story as the first one. So, but if you want, I'll get you a copy of Devotion and check it out because it was fantastic.
It's no problem.
What we're gonna do real quick, because I'm pretty sure that Nique's got a lot of stuff to do, but we do have Dominique on the phone. He's showing us he's showing us the new studio.
Oh man,
which I don't. How much are we allowed to say?
Man, we can say whatever we want because it's ours.
Okay, Dominique, you're on mute, just so you know, and you're. I know you're showing the studio, but.
So what we were thinking about, Barrett, I was talking to Nique, you see that big window we got right there. So
it's huge.
Instead of just having like a regular, window,
it was expensive too.
We're about to have a fish. We're putting a fish tank there, so it'd be fish tanks between us and the artists.
I would never do that. I would never.
Dominique, have we chosen a glass distributor in order to get that fish tank in there?
Oh yeah, they chose a price too.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I bought the glass from Ace Glass.
Ace Glass.
Yeah.
You can thank Barrett for that. Barrett gave him that shout out.
That up?
Yeah, you did set that up.
Let me ask you this. When it came to that, were you able to negotiate the price down for us to give them some advertising?
Not as far as advertising, but they did work with me on the price. They did lower it.
Oh yeah,
That's
they definitely did.
That is
They
fantastic.
brought it down.
The lady
Brought it
said,
down a
well, go ahead.
for me.
Go ahead, Nique.
So that's why I did the free plug.
That's right. Well,
they brought it down a couple hundred.
That's fantastic.
The lady says she's seen a lot of herself inside of Nique whenever so that's the reason why she gave him a good price.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was she hitting on you?
No, she was saying like basically don't let your friends take credit for all your hard work that you're putting into. So
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So don't do all that work and let your friends come here and take the credit for it.
Nique, I agree. Don't let people take credit for your work. And he's paused.
He paused.
That's okay.
It's all good.
He probably can still hear us. So the reason we have Dominique on is because, of course, the NFL season wrapped up this past week.
Regular season. There's still one more game, right? They still got to replay that game? Or
they're not.
They're not?
No, that game's not getting replayed.
So what they're doing, that's a draw?
So basically, it just got marked down as a canceled game as a bye week. If there had been any issues with how the playoffs were determined, then they were going to do a flip of the coin. So if for some reason the Bills had matched up evenly against someone else, then they would have done a flip of the coin to determine who gets home field advantage.
Oh, okay. Who gets home field advantage?
Yeah,
okay, I thought you were talking about a coin flip to see who's in the playoffs.
No,
that's crazy.
No, they know.
Can you imagine both teams meeting up at some random site?
Yeah.
Like we're gonna flip the coin and be like, "Yo, we're in the playoffs or you're in the playoffs."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would have been rough.
What would you go on that if you had to pick?
I wouldn't want to pick. I don't know. I take that back. I think that I would. I think I'd want to be in control. I'd want to pick. So I would. I mean, heads. I'd pick heads.
I got you.
So the reason we have Dominique on is because, well, one, Zach's not here.
Correct.
So Zach can't actually discuss his picks, but
Correct.
just to give an idea, several months ago, before the start of the NFL season, we went through and picked who we thought was going to be the champions or the number one teams in each AFC, NFC, that sort of thing,
and all that.
Yeah. So after going through and reviewing a tally of all the picks, Dominique actually came out on top. He came out on top pretty handedly, actually.
It's only because I didn't pick the Vikings.
You didn't pick the Vikings, which I got to be honest. Never would I have thought the Vikings were going to do that well this year.
I didn't think Kirk Cousins had it in them.
Not that I had it's not that I had the doubt. As long as it's not the Packers. As long as the Packers aren't in,
They damn near almost got in.
yeah, very close. But
They whooped our ass the last week.
yeah, that's true.
Like, I felt like, damn, we don't even deserve to be in
All
this.
I'll say is that what really turned out to be crazy is, yeah, exactly. So Detroit had to beat, I can't remember who it was, but Detroit had to beat somebody. And
it wasn't the Bills. It was like Miami. Right?
something.
Yeah.
Well, they beat whoever it was that Detroit beat. Determined the Packers getting in.
Correct.
So they beat whomever, or they played whomever, and the Packers didn't get in. So kudos to.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you, Detroit.
Yeah, as the Falcons aren't making it into the playoffs, then the Packers have nowhere. There's no reason
Well,
for
the
them to be
Falcons
there.
don't deserve to be there only because they disrespected one of their players for making bets, and he's just trying to get by.
Yeah, I don't know how to. I don't know how. I mean, if he's
Betting on the game,
in favor of the Falcons,
like why
I
would
think
that be
that's
a bad thing?
Yeah, but if he's voting against if he's betting against the
and
Falcons,
he's playing bad.
Yeah, and then
that's a red flag.
So I don't know what the details are of what it was that he did, but I do recognize that there is the possibility that he may have had some influence, and maybe that's one of the issues. I don't know.
Even if he did, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure his other players is out there getting their family to bet.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. There's always that possibility. So AFC East, basically all but you, Trent, picked the Bills. We all picked the Bills. You picked the Dolphins.
Correct.
In the AFC North,
The Dolphins were doing so good.
you did pick the Bengals.
I did.
You did pick the Bengals.
Correct.
And Zach picked the Bengals. Dominique picked the Ravens. I picked the Browns.
Correct.
And I'm going to be honest.
You thought Deshaun was coming early?
I'm done picking the police. Deshaun did nothing for me. I'm done.
Was he on your fantasy?
He was.
Oh,
he was my
man.
backup quarterback.
Damn.
I had Kyle Murray, who did okay. Then at one point I had Marcus Mariota,
yeah.
and he did okay.
Yeah, he did all right.
But yeah, then Marcus went out. And
Shame on you for not picking Geno Smith.
I actually thought about that. I saw Geno Smith out there for several
He
weeks.
had the best season ever this year.
He was fantastic.
I don't mean to make y'all backpedal, but I heard y'all talking about my pick.
Welcome back to the show, Dominique. So
I had to mute you. I was talking to the contractors.
you're good. So in
Tell him to say something. Say something to the mic for us.
do you want to say he's
Don't-
this?
Oh, man, like,
You said what now? What'd you say, Nick?
Trent's making it weird. So basically, if we were to go through all of it, it'd be a lot. It'd be a lot to go through.
Correct.
So what I'll basically say, Trent,
The champions.
your picks earned you 3 points.
Okay.
Dominique, your picks
Okay.
earned you 6 points.
Okay.
6 points.
Okay, I'm not that far behind then.
No. You did well. Zach picked 4. He got 4. He got 4 correct. So he's 4 points.
4 points. Okay.
And I'm with you. I got 3.
Okay. That's
So
not too bad.
congratulations, Dominique.
Big dog win.
And
Big dog win.
and you know what the craziest thing was is I feel like the way you chose, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that you chose your picks was mostly just I'm going to go with Vikings across the board,
Correct.
and then I'm going to pick the ones I recognize.
Exactly.
That
That's
it worked.
exactly.
It worked
did work.
out.
It did work.
So Dominique,
I rooted for my dad's team, the Eagles,
yeah.
and I rooted for my team, the Vikings.
So what I'm going to do, and I know you're working at the new studio to get everything built, and Dominique's there. I'm going to buy you guys lunch one day maybe this week or next week. But I'm gonna bring. I'm picking the lunch.
That's fine.
There is a pizzeria down the street from the new studio that is some of the best pizza I've had in a long time.
Is it Cucinella's?
No. No, it's the New York style pizzeria that's right there in front of the McDonald's.
Okay.
But it's good. It's fantastic.
I mean, we ain't got no problem. We've been eating pizza like all week.
Has
so.
it been all pizza?
Yeah.
Dominique, you're loading up on the carbs, huh? Okay.
Yeah, he's been
right.
he's been gaining the lbs.
No, he's not.
Lactose tolerant too.
He is lactose intolerant. Been messing up. Thank God he ain't been killing the bathroom.
So wait, Nick, do you need me to get a naked pizza?
No, please, we need sauce.
Okay. Well, I just meant cheese. No cheese.
Okay, so when you go get that New York style pizza, tell them you want extra sauce because for some reason they don't understand about sauce on pizza when it's New York style. I don't understand what they do, but
So yeah, so I'll come up there with some pizza and some wings, and
Thanks, man.
that'll be my way of congratulating you guys, because this was and plus
You got to come up there and eat with us because
I'll eat. I'll
come
be
eat
there.
over with us. You know what I'm
But
saying?
let me tell you, just for the people listening, and I don't know how much information Dominique wants to give away, so I'm probably giving away too much.
Man, give up it all, man. We're coming, and we're coming for it all. Just know that.
GOT Sound Studio is leaving the Columbia address
And going to Lexington, baby.
Yeah, we're
taking
headed,
our talents to Lexington.
It's going over there to Lexington, and
it's only one exit down, though.
It's really not.
It's one exit down. So
yeah, it's not.
people
The
don't get
distance
scary.
the distance traveled is not going to be any further. It's a fantastic location, and just from the outside looking in, the amount of work that Trent and Jonathan and Dominique have done, and I imagine there's others that's been involved, but
well, we can't name them all, but yeah.
it is fantastic.
Pablo. We can shout out Pablo. That's his real name. I'm not just saying Pablo.
Yeah. Oh, that's not like other people I know.
No, that's his real name.
Yeah. Look. I know.
That's the contractor.
There are people I know that if you are of Mexican or Hispanic descent,
Correct.
They will. He will just call you.
No. Let's not even get canceled in 2023.
Yeah. So congratulations, Dominique. It is fantastic. Your picks are going to move into the championship, but we'll do this again when it comes to the Super Bowl.
You want to name out everybody who we have playing in the championship so everybody remembers. So
I can tell you. Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, Jacksonville Jaguars. Which, by the way, the Jaguars
came back.
How?
It's like them and Miami switched places at the end of the season.
Yeah. Except so all I'm going to say is the AFC South has got to be the weakest conference.
Well,
in all of
no, it's Trevor Lawrence, baby.
You think so?
It's Trevor Lawrence.
I can't give him that much credit.
What you mean? Him and ETN?
That's true. That is true.
That's all
ETN's on
Clemson.
that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'll give it to you.
That's that national championship.
I have
Clemson
seen.
right there.
I have seen.
Zach wouldn't know nothing about national championships.
Yeah, I've seen several of the sports commentators say that Trevor Lawrence next year is going to be.
This is breakout year next year.
Yeah,
this year technically was, but he didn't really get to shine. Really and truly. What's the guy's name from Miami?
Oh, the concussion.
Tua.
Yeah, Tua.
It was his breakout season this year. He went crazy. But other than Geno Smith, who really deserves that Pro Bowl that he's in, shout out to him.
Injuries this year.
A lot of injuries.
I mean, and also,
it's like they said, F the quarterbacks this year.
Yeah, just as a side note, Damar Hamlin.
Yes,
he was discharged today. Yeah. He was discharged today.
Oh, great.
He's out of the hospital.
Great.
So he's going to be headed home, and that's
I hope
fantastic.
I hope they don't rush him back to the field. I hope they kind of like.
I have a feeling they probably won't.
Okay. I mean, but it's really his call though. It's not really.
Well, they have protocols and whatnot that they have to follow. So
he didn't have a concussion, so it's not
did
like
not have a concussion
protocol. But I don't know how they treat that protocol. You know what I mean? Like, are they going to put him like through training, like put him on the treadmill, see what he can do?
I still think it was just a freak accident.
I know, but
I think it was.
Think
just
about
a
if that
freak
happens.
event.
That can happen again.
It absolutely could. And how much damage was caused because of it?
Yeah, him losing air so long.
Well,
to
he was
to the brain that long.
Well, what I've read is that they did. He had chest compressions being done the whole time he was on the ground, and that's what kept the oxygen flow in his heart and whatnot. So from what I've read, there hasn't been actually any like permanent damage.
Okay.
So he'll go through some physical testing and whatnot. I'm sure at some point he'll probably make the return to the field. I don't know if it's going to be this year.
Good.
In the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles won the East. Minnesota Vikings, of course, they won the NFC North.
Oh, there he is. Oh, there he is. There's Zach DeGrasse Tyson.
Zach has graced us with his appearance. You guys can't see him. I mean, you can. He's kind of over here, and if you're on YouTube, he's back here in the corner. But
Zach, we was just talking about championships, man. What you know about those?
A lot. We won 2 in college basketball. 2 in college baseball. 2 in college basketball on the women's side. We competed for 1.
Yeah.
In 2013.
The women are actually on track to
win again.
Yeah.
They will not be stopped.
Yeah.
They will not. They're beating people. I think they beat Coastal Carolina like 102 to like 32 or something like that the other night.
Was it
They're
really?
throttling them.
Yeah, man.
Everyone.
Shout out. I'm gonna give you a shout out because I watched the game last night, Zach, and I seen y'all beat Kentucky. The men
Yep.
beat Kentucky.
I did see that.
In Rupp Arena.
Yeah, in their arena.
That's not a little thing.
They haven't beat that. I think they haven't won at that arena since what they said, like 2006 or something like that.
They were on a 28 game winning streak too.
Man, that's insane.
It was a tight game.
That is insane.
That was a tight game last
Zach,
night.
I did tell everybody about your instructions on how you are to approach and what you are to discuss with Neil deGrasse Tyson when you rush the stage, right?
Yeah. When I bum rush the stage.
Yeah.
You got to do it just like the guy did at the Dave Chappelle show. You got to just come up there with the microphone. With your phone and be like, "Hey, Neil, say you love the All About Nothing podcast now."
And Neil deGrasse Tyson is so much more bigger than Dave Chappelle. He would probably knock my head off.
I don't know. It was a few years ago, but I remember when Dave Chappelle was like really built.
Skinny.
Like,
When
you
talking about
when he was strapped.
when he came back from Africa. Exactly. It's when he was the biggest.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So Zach, just to give you the highlights, Dominique won 6 points in our NFL picks. You won 4. Trent and I both won 3.
Okay.
So the result of that is that I'm going to take them pizza and wings. I'm gonna take them pizza and wings one day next week to congratulate Dominique. Plus all the work they're doing in the new studio.
And you got to come there so you can come help paint, Zach.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
You and Barrett, we're going to get you and Barrett.
Say what?
You just got lucky with them Viking picks, and then all your other ones were mine.
They were all, Zach.
I did not get lucky. I knew the Vikings were going to have a great year.
No, you used plagiarism, and then you used
plagiarism, man!
Oh,
Wow,
man.
Wow. He called you what, Ivanka Trump? Ivanka with the plagiarism?
No, it was Melania.
Melania, yeah, Melania hit the plagiarism.
Used Michelle's speech.
Vice versa, man.
Fair enough.
Hey, beat him, join him.
Hold on,
I
get
came
closer to your
second
phone,
in my
Nick.
fantasy league as well. So second place, it seems my lot this year.
It does. Zach did take second place in our fantasy football league, and let me just point out the biggest reason that Zach took second place was because he told his opponent to switch out some players.
Really?
He hurt himself.
They came back and beat. Well, I did it to Barrett, and then
Yes,
he
he
started
did.
paying
Wow.
attention, and then it came. If I hadn't have done that, then I could have beaten whomever I played outside of him. Because no one scored as much as me outside of him.
The guy that Zach played in the championship had no idea he was in the playoffs until Zach told him.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not it. He had, that's not it. I told him to get his points right against you. That he had bench players with 0.
You know what a lot of people are doing since their fantasies got messed up because of the Bills game? A lot of people they put 2 computers on the new Madden, and they let them play it out.
That's interesting.
And they added up the points they would have got just randomly from that game just to finish out their fantasy, because a lot of people's fantasy for some reason got messed up because of that last Bills game.
That's interesting, because the approach that I took was basically I took anyone that had players in that game. Mm-hmm. I went through and grabbed all of their points that they had accrued from the last 4 games, averaged them together, and then said, okay, this average is what those players would have gotten.
Oh, okay.
So what it did was it gave Zach the win to move him into the championship. It gave
Trent, my 2 players was Jamar Chase and Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Quarterback.
They both would have went crazy that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Hey, but I'm gonna have to hop off, guys. But for my NFL pick right now, Bills all the way.
Bills all the way is what you said?
All the way. Well, let me tell you what you picked for the for the Super Bowl.
Let me remind you.
You did pick the Bills. I picked the Bucks. Dominique picked the Vikings, and you picked the Bengals.
I mean, I technically got still a chance.
You do have a chance. Look,
I have a big, strong chance.
We all have a chance because literally, who we picked to win the Super Bowl
are all in the playoffs.
Yeah. So that was good on our part. So, Zach,
we should be on ESPN, man.
Yeah.
Bills, Nick. You picked the Bills, Nick. The Vikings gonna win it all.
I picked the. You said what?
I said you picked the Bills, but the Vikings gonna win it all.
Oh, yeah, always.
No, he picked the Vikings. Yeah, Nique picked the Vikings.
Vikings to win.
So,
all right.
Well,
Love you guys.
Zach,
See ya.
have a good time at the show. Dominique, thank you very much for joining us. We'll let you get back to work in the brand new studio, and we'll have more details on that. Guys, thank you very much for being here. I do want to. I also want to talk about some of the ongoings that have just been insane. And for the last.
Oh, McCarthy got in there, right?
Yeah, but we're going to talk about some political stuff in the next segment. But first, I want to ask: did you watch the national championship?
You mean the national ass whooping?
Yeah. So,
did you see the guy that got pissed off about it?
So
he what was it? The Mississippi State fan?
No, he's a Michigan State fan. Do you want? I'm gonna play some of this because
that was funny.
This guy is.
He might be right.
Thoroughly insane though.
He might be right.
I don't disagree with him. Here he is.
On the college football playoff committee.
It's a message.
Congratulations. You need to pat yourself on the back because you have screwed every college football fan in this country tonight. That's what you have done. You have done that. Look at this right here, 45-7. Okay, now, look at this. They just. Luckily, he dropped the ball. What is this? What is this?
This guy has named himself the King TikTok creator. I think this was his first video too.
Hey man, he is the king. After that.
He
went viral.
He's only really angry about the fact that TCU got in over Michigan State because TCU beat Michigan State.
Correct.
Was there qualifications? Getting beat by Kansas State.
They did get beat by Kansas State.
That's true.
They still got in. So yeah, it is kind of crazy.
Well, every team that got in was a one-loss team except for Georgia.
Correct.
So,
but one lost team in a conference like that is a little, you know what I mean?
I don't disagree. But listen to the anger.
I think Clemson would have did a little bit better than that this year.
This is a barn fire.
We got 14.
And every one of you, not one of you deserves to be on that committee. If this is what you think college football is supposed to look like.
He's talking to you, Paul Fishburne, or whatever. Because I know Paul be voting for every year.
Every one of you that's on that committee that pulled some crap like this deserves us all an apology. And I want it. This better not ever happen again.
Oh, you know it's got.
It can't happen no more because of the new how they about to do it. It's about to be the 12 teams, man. So
it's garbage.
I feel like it's gonna be even better. I feel like I love that it's like March Madness for football that's coming up, and that's like the best. Yeah. Like the number 12 team can technically sneak in there and win a national championship.
Let me just say,
if everything plays out how it's supposed to.
Some of the statistics on this. It is the most dominant title game performance in sports history. Okay. University of Georgia came in with 14-0 record. TCU came in at 13-1. They lost to Kansas State. Final score, 65-7. Stetson Bennett.
They were trying to score again, Barrett.
I know.
They were trying to get to 70.
They put in their backup quarterback.
But he was even scored. He scored, and then their backup running back scored.
Yeah. His completion rating, I think, was a little bit better than Stetson Bennett.
Got to be 100% because I don't think he threw a bad ball.
304 yards of passing with 4 touchdowns for Stetson Bennett. Brock Bowers had 152 receiving yards in a title game with a touchdown. I mean, how do you think he's going to do in the NFL? See, that's one of those things that I just don't know. I don't know how to.
It's too many 5-star recruits on that one team.
Yeah.
And once you go to a place, and I know he's going to be like a first high round pick, and it's going to be a bad team, and you're going to have a bad line, you're not going to be able to do what you did at Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the NFL. But I mean, unless he's the next coming of Tom Brady.
Yeah, well, and
Tom Brady was a little scrawny too whenever he first got in.
Yeah, but Tom Brady was tall. Stetson Bennett's like what, 5?
Did you know
10,
him and
5'8"?
Lamar Jackson are the same age?
They're both 25.
Yes,
Lamar Jackson's 25.
Right. And
I did not know that.
The same age. I found that out on Twitter.
Things I know about Stetson Bennett. He was a walk-on.
Yep. He was a walk-on.
Went to Georgia.
Left. Went to JUCO. Yep. Came back. Had to fight for his spot at Georgia. Yep. Won it, and then here we are. Cinderella story.
As a Georgia Tech fan, it's all bullshit and it's all made up.
You said Georgia Heck.
Let me just say, before we go to break, largest bowl wins in FBS history, football, the football championships history. Georgia, of course, now has a 58 or plus 58 score with a 65-7 win. LSU defeated Purdue last year in the Citrus Bowl 56-7. So that was this says 50 a plus 56, but that's not right. Armed Forces Bowl back in 2018. Army defeated Houston 70-14.
Wow.
And then in 2008, Tulsa defeated Bowling Green 63-7. That was.
I'm surprised you didn't. I'm surprised you didn't pull up that Clemson and Carolina score. That was like 63-3 or something.
Well, that wasn't a title game. That wasn't a bowl game.
It was a lot of points scored.
Yeah. So I will suffer. I will suffer the humiliation of saying congratulations to the University of Georgia Bulldogs for the national championship title.
Well, you had to say it in that voice. Put a little bass in that,
yeah, because I feel like if I make it sound too much like my voice,
they might know it's you.
Congratulations to the Georgia Bulldogs for their big victory.
Congratulations, y'all.
Two-time national championship in a row.
Y'all deserve it. Anybody but South Carolina.
Hey, I'm gonna make a prediction. If Stetson Bennett returns,
he's got to. No. I think he's gone.
Is he?
Yeah, that's why they took him out.
Georgia will be third place in the SEC next year in the SEC East. If Stetson Bennett's not there,
if he's not there,
yeah, I don't think they do as well next year.
They said they got they said
I know
year,
what they always say they got,
but they're saying everybody on the team isn't like how it was last year. It's like a lot of people aren't leaving other than him and a couple of I think defensive tackles or something like that.
Yeah,
but.
Well,
they basically said they're ready to do it 3 years in a row if they can.
Well,
that would be crazy.
I'm not saying it. They are a team that could do it.
You think Alabama gonna let that happen?
Yeah, yes. Alabama's gonna be rebuilding for the next 3 or 4 years. I think it's gonna be at least 3 years before Alabama's back in any. Well, I don't know.
Do you think Nick Saban's gonna return? I mean, gonna retire anytime soon?
Nick Saban has a chair with his name on it at ESPN, guaranteed. I don't know how long.
I would really hate to hear his voice every morning.
Well,
on ESPN.
It won't be every morning. It'll just be on Saturdays. But you got to replace. Old dude.
Skip. If he replaces Skip, I'll be happy.
All right, fair. Yeah, okay, yeah. That would be.
I would love to see Shannon and. I'm
talking about Corso. Like at some point, you got to replace Corso because he's not that he bring him in for the mascot head thing, but that's it. I think that's all they do with him now.
I mean, you can. They're not replacing. He's got to die before they replace him.
That's what I'm saying. Lee Corso's. Hey,
you're calling his death. You're
2023. We lost Barbara Walters. Corso.
He's not that old though.
He's like 100. Anyway, apologies to anybody listening to this episode that was just like, oh, this is all sports. Well, we'll get back to the politics next time.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and take a break. We'll come right back. The All About Nothing podcast.
Hi, this is Ami Bland from Columbia, South Carolina, and you're listening to the All About Nothing podcast.
All right, before we get started with the second half of this episode, it is important to note that we did have some technical difficulties in recording the second half of the episode. Those technical difficulties being me, Barrett Gruber, no one else, just me. So please forgive the audio quality of what you hear after this. It totally, again, on me. But promise we have come up with some procedures so that this will not be an issue again. Please enjoy the second half.
Yeah! This your boy D-Rock Santana, checking in from the Morning After Pill. Yo, make sure you check out the All About Nothing podcast with Barrett, Zach, and Trent. It's up.
All right, welcome back to the All About Nothing podcast. Trent Clark with me here.
I am here.
We are sans Zach King because, as we stated before, he spent money to go listen to a science guy talk about space.
Yep. Sounds like that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So, as mentioned before,
I think he had to drag Gabrielle along, or
I'm sure she was. Willingly. I'm sure she. Yeah. Because one, they get a night out away from the baby.
For the baby, correct.
Not that that's a good thing. I mean, they adore their child.
Parents need it.
Yeah.
All parents need it.
But I think ultimately they're getting to go out on the town. They're getting to get something to eat.
Yeah.
And it's important because
date night.
Yeah, date night. There you go. So yeah, you mentioned before Kevin McCarthy.
Correct.
He did finally get elected Speaker of the House.
Correct.
A historic 15 ballots was required.
Sean Hannity interviewed him.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, how did that go? I didn't see that.
It was like him in a room full of all his, I guess, what do you call it, constituents?
Well, or his peers, or
they were all
colleagues.
Him, and I mean, he was saying basically he's ready to cross and talk to the president if need be. He wants to talk to the House and get some bills passed. He said, I'm not trying to shut down the government. Just the basic lies.
Yeah. Because ultimately, I was going to say. So just some facts on that. So it took 15 ballots, which is historic. It's not taken more than one ballot in almost 100 years.
Well, your boy was voting for Donald Trump, so that's what took a little time.
I was going to say, so in total of all the votes that were cast during the entire debacle, Hakeem Jeffries, who is the Democrat from New York, which I like him a lot. He received 2,543 votes. So basically the Democrats voted 212 every single ballot except for one or two where there was somebody out. So 211, 212. He got those votes. 2,543 is what he got. Kevin McCarthy received 2,464. So Hakeem Jeffries got more votes than McCarthy throughout the entire thing up until like the last three ballots. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump got 3 votes over the course of the whole fiasco.
And they were all from one person.
Yeah. So basically Donald Trump has lost the popular vote now. 2016, 2020, and 2022. He has literally lost the popular vote every time he's been on the ballot.
Goddamn.
Every single time. Not once has he won total votes.
Fair and square.
Ever. So shout outs to Donald Trump for the fact that he is still the United States' biggest loser.
Biggest loser. We still got to call him president. Ain't that some shit?
Well, former president, ex-president, I don't.
I'll be hearing like CNN people talk about him, and they won't say president.
No,
they will say Mr. Trump. You get what I'm saying? They won't say president.
Well, on Colbert's show, on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert,
people still call President Obama. President Obama.
Of course, I just call him Barack.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you know him personally? He's like, I call him Barack.
I wish.
What you were saying?
I think he'd be a pretty cool person, though. What was I saying? Now I can't even remember.
I messed you up.
That's okay. Look, it's not just you. It's also my age.
I guess my age too. I guess that paint thinner and stuff.
So one of the biggest. There's a couple greatest takeaways. One of them being this photograph that was taken. That is Katie Porter on the floor, or not on the floor, but in her seat during all of this. The book that she is reading, titled "The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck." I think that's fantastic. And there were probably, I don't know how long she read it during the course of this. And one of the greatest things about the time period prior
the book is upside down there.
No, it's not. One of the greatest things about the time period in which there is no speaker, there are no actual rules to the House. Normally, C-SPAN, who has the cameras in there, those cameras are operated by House employees that know, according to the rules, where they can point the cameras and things like that. And most of the time, the cameras are literally just pointed at where the speaker stands or at the podiums of who's speaking. That's as much as they can show. But during this whole thing, C-SPAN had free reign over their own cameras and could point them anywhere. So they caught things like House members yawning.
Oh yeah, I seen him, the liar.
Yeah, George Santos was back there. He's picking his nose.
Yeah.
Not that that's a House rule. I don't think that they
don't do it in my house.
Well, he'd pick his nose and he
what are you gonna do with it?
He looked at it and then wiped it on his little vest.
That's horrible.
So they were allowed to have their phones on the floor. I think under normal circumstances, the representatives aren't allowed to have their phones on the floor. One of the other things, having their phones on the floor, the other greatest takeaway was, if you can see in this picture, that is Marjorie Taylor Greene of the North Georgia backwoods.
Of course. On
her phone, she has a live phone call going, which, by the way, I guess she's got the 12 Pro, or the 14, she's got the 13 Pro, I guess, because it doesn't look like it really fits in her hand.
Taxpayers pay for it.
Yeah. But in this picture, you can see she's actually talking to Representative Matt Rosendale of wherever, but he's one of the Never Keviners and she was trying to give him her phone because on the phone, the caller ID says DT. She had Donald Trump on the phone. She was trying to give the phone to Rosendale because Donald Trump was trying to tell people like Gates and Boebert and Rosendale and others to go ahead and vote for McCarthy. Like he was instructing them, but they wouldn't take his call. Oh. So these 6 individuals who all probably got elected again because Donald Trump's influence over the party, they would not talk to him because all he wanted was for them to back the guy that he was backing. Correct. And they wouldn't answer him.
So they eventually had to back the guy he was backing.
Well, they didn't. They voted present. Which ultimately what happened is McCarthy just needs more than 50%. He needs 50% of the vote plus 1. And in order to do that, by them voting present, they're not actually voting. That lowers the threshold of the number of votes because at most, he only ever got 216.
I see what they did.
Yeah. So basically, they can say, we didn't support him for speaker, we just didn't vote. So it lowered the threshold down so that he could get the number of votes required 50 plus 1 or 50% plus 1. It's really a sad state of affairs.
It's a very, very nasty game in politics, man.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So as of
why is she saving? Why is she so scared to write Donald Trump in her phone? Like, does she think like somebody's gonna?
I don't think she knew that this was gonna get caught on camera.
But that's the thing. Is like she's almost hiding it from her husband. Like you know how you put.
They're divorced. Their divorce has been finalized. She is free to date any. She's free to have a relationship with any physical therapist. No, not physical therapist. What are they? Trainers. Her personal trainers. She's free to have a relationship with all the personal trainers she wants now. Okay. All right. I imagine that she's hitting all of the conservative gyms in Washington D.C.
What do you think the conservative gyms you think go or
my impression? Move? My impression of a conservative gym is definitely one that locks you in for a year.
Like we just gonna take it out. We'll take out $10 right now, and then we'll take out the rest later.
Yeah. It's $1 for the first month, and then it's $10, and then it's $100, and it's $1,000. It goes up incrementally.
Now you can't quit.
You'll never be able to quit. No. I think that's probably how a lot of these Republicans feel. It's like I'm ingrained now. I can't get out. But yeah, so the House is now controlled by the GOP. Okay. One of the things that I find interesting about that is that, of course, McCarthy comes out and says, no, we're going to work with the Democrats to get things done, First thing they did was they came in and removed Democratic Congress members Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell, and Ilhan Omar from the House Intelligence and Foreign Affairs committees. They also created a new committee to oversee the abuse of federal law enforcement. Basically the idea of weaponizing the FBI or the IRS or anything like that against your political adversaries. So this idea that the Biden administration was using the FBI to get at Donald Trump, which is, I don't think that happened. I get that,
but we can't put it past them, right?
You can't put it past anybody, but I cannot imagine a scenario as public as the FBI is with the raid on Mar-a-Lago for the documents.
So what happened with that?
Well, so where are we at with that? Yeah. That is a great question. There's a special counselor in charge of the investigation. I believe he handed that report over to the the Department of Justice.
Correct.
And
they can't check the grave site in New Jersey. they know what they were looking for, really.
I imagine a warrant would probably get you the ability to dig up a grave.
I don't think it's probably a lot of red tape you got to get around to dig up a grave.
How many people could potentially be buried there, though? Because it's just got to be Ivana Trump, and that's the only one that I know of.
But I'm saying like red tape as far as like it's like sacred. Like you can't do that unless, you know what I'm saying, like you said, a court order.
I am still confused though. Ivana Trump was she was cremated. I believe the report was that she was cremated, but they buried a casket that was carried by like 10 people.
You know what was in that casket? It wasn't her heavy ass ashes. like what? 24 karat gold.
What's in here?
It's a file cabinet. It's a file cabinet. They buried the file cabinet.
So the House GOP is basically it's basically a movement of revenge. They're upset that they didn't have the influence that they could have had from the last 2 years into the first 2 years of last 2 years of Trump into the first 2 years of Biden.
Correct.
So they are they're basically invoking this revenge on the Democrats.
And also, didn't some breaking news happen about Biden having some papers too?
So and you know what, I think
some of these presidents stealing these papers.
You know what I think?
You know who didn't steal a paper, Barrett? The black man.
Oh, Obama. Yeah,
he didn't steal no papers.
He
He knew what time it was.
Ultimately, yeah, he was It was going from Obama into Trump. I think that it was probably just a good idea not to do anything that was going to like stand out.
Correct.
Deals on Netflix, great. Speaking engagements, that's okay.
Correct.
You can write some books, good. Just don't come out and talk crap about Donald Trump, or else he's going to send the FBI, which ultimately would be investigated by the House now, because that's an abuse of
power.
the law enforcement, federal law enforcement. The whole thing with them removing these particular Democrats, they still have to have Democrats on these committees, because the House is so almost evenly split. You're talking about 212 to 218, or 222 or 223. It's a very, very close margin, and so Democrats will be on these committees as well. They just didn't want these particular ones in there. Ilhan Omar, of course, because she's one black and Muslim, So you have to make sure that the racism shows up somewhere.
Correct.
You don't have to call it racism. You just have to say it just has to be implied.
We're not racism. We just don't want her to sit at our table. That's basically what they're saying.
She seems like a really good person.
I mean, yeah, they all do, right?
No. I cannot confess that I believe that all of them are. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I have not seen where they. Oh no. Okay, so to go back to the documents, I don't know that it's a fair comparison between the document situation. Because so here's the scenario with Donald Trump, and you tell me if this is even.
Okay, I'm listening.
You be a
I'm being a judge.
An outside perspective.
Okay.
Donald Trump, at some point, I guess I don't remember exactly how it happened, but there was a question about some documents.
Okay.
They went to Donald Trump and he said, "I don't have any," and then he happened to find a couple. So they got turned over. And they said, "Do you have any more?" And he said, "No more. We looked everywhere. There's no more."
Well,
then they found some more.
Correct.
And then
because it probably said page 1 of.
Yeah. So they.
She was like, it's 1 of 96.
No, this is page 9, 207. So they went back to it. So they handed those over, and they said, "That's it. There's no more." And then so they said, "Are you sure there's no more?" He said, "Of course.
No more.
I've never lied."
Never lied.
And then they didn't believe him. So
surprisingly,
they got a warrant because someone inside apparently leaked that yes, there are more documents.
And they got a mole.
Yeah, they did have. They had a mole in Mar-a-Lago, and then they did.
Was it FBI?
It could have been Secret Service. They still work for the federal government.
Oh, that is right. He does have detail with him for the rest of his life.
So they
is
get.
Is it really detail or is it security?
Yeah, it's a security detail. But so like when you worked at the USC games, you were part of the security detail.
Oh yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
I was like, cop, arrest them.
I thought you were important.
Yeah.
So ultimately, then the Department of Justice got involved, and the FBI they decided that they would get a warrant signed by a judge to do a search on Mar-a-Lago, and of course they found another 30 some odd, 39, 40 whatever documents that were considered top secret or top secret or whatever. To which that is where we are with the Donald Trump Mar-a-Lago documents thing.
Okay.
The Biden one's a little different, and you can tell me if
I'm
it's
listening. Give it to me.
So in an office, I think it was like the Penn Biden Center or something like that.
Apparently, it was a locked closet, correct?
It not only was a locked closet, but it was like a locked closet inside of a locked filing cabinet inside of closed, sheathed documents, whatever.
Okay.
And it was like 2 or 3 of them. So ultimately, they're closing this office. They find these documents marked top secret, and they go ahead and notify the National Archive, who then notifies the FBI. They turn those documents over.
Okay.
They ask, are there any more? And they said, we'll keep looking. As far as I know, they haven't found any
more. Okay.
And that's where we're at right now.
Okay.
And ultimately, I think the FBI should open an investigation into why these documents were, after they determine whether or not these documents are actually top secret, because there are things that are marked top secret that aren't necessarily top secret.
Just because they might have a name on it or something.
If it's got information that could potentially out some CIA agent or an asset or something like that. So those are which we don't know what the documents that Trump had.
We don't.
But ultimately, that's where we're at with this Biden document situation, and why did he have them?
Correct.
Let's investigate that.
Okay.
Were they in a secure location? Is there any possibility that information from them could have gotten out? That's the kind of thing that we need to look into.
Okay.
It's the kind of stuff that Donald Trump is continuing to try and block. He does not want the FBI to investigate who potentially could have been around these documents. Is there the possibility that he sold some documents? That sort of thing. He doesn't even want the investigation.
So what it seems like to me is you got one person getting pulled over by the police, and they're like, "Hey, you can check my car for anything you know what I'm saying? I'll cooperate with you, officer." And then you got the Donald Trump version of it, be like, "Hey, do you have a warrant to search my car? Do you, you know what I'm saying?"
Oh, you have a warrant? Okay. Do you have a crowbar? Because I locked the keys in the car. You're gonna have to call a locksmith.
I see where you're getting at, Barry.
Yeah.
I see it. One's cooperating with them, one's not. I mean, I feel you.
It's apples and oranges.
Correct.
And I think
you can't expect rich people to cooperate.
I think Joe Biden's plenty rich.
Well, now, yes, but Donald Trump's been rich since birth.
Has he? I think he's been pretty.
Gave him $1 million at birth.
I think he's been pretty broke for the last several years.
He broke on paper, baby.
He can't. Yeah.
On paper,
He can't manage to pay taxes. So I guess he must be.
Or he gets around the loopholes that we wrote.
That we wrote.
I
had nothing to do with that. I still have to pay my taxes.
Ain't that crazy that rich people can get around paying taxes while us broke
I pay
people,
my fair share.
While us broke people have to sit around and be like, damn, I wish I didn't have to pay this.
Yeah.
And then the IRS comes and they're like, hey, we want our money. But you're not sitting Donald Trump there saying, or maybe you are, and we just don't know.
I think that's part of the point. So the IRS, one of the things that the new House of Representatives is going to do is if they haven't already put it to a vote, they're trying to defund the IRS. So during the course of the last 2 years, the House and the Senate voted to pass a bill that would create enough money, basically, to fund 87,000 new IRS agents. Which, if you're a MAGA or a GOP conservative or one of these Freedom Caucus people, you see that as a threat. You see that as because they think that these are new IRS agents that they're putting in more IRS to create
more digging compared to the other people.
Like a police force, an IRS police force, which, by the way, that's no such thing. That doesn't exist.
So is the IRS technically government owned?
Yeah. It's funded by the tax dollars that we pay.
Okay.
So, but essentially, these 87,000 are not necessarily intended to bolster the IRS. It is partially, but it's also to replace a bunch of retiring IRS agents. It's to also invest money into the technology, computers, and well, I think their infrastructure is probably okay, but technology, because tons of people still file their taxes by mail. They still file their 1040s. They put them in the mailbox on April 15th, and they want to modernize the IRS, kind of like I would like to see them modernize a national database of firearms that have been used in violent crimes. We don't have that. It's all paperwork. If let's say somebody uses a gun in a let's say they use a gun in a violent crime, and they want to see if that gun has ever been used in another crime anywhere in the country. They have to do a test. They shoot around to see what the bullet looks like, and then they send that information to a national building.
Correct. I remember they used to do it on CSI.
Yeah. So, but they send it off, and it's all paperwork. Like literally, this particular.
It's not digital.
It isn't. The federal entity that houses all of that information for firearms that have been used in violent crimes and whatnot, to be able to match that up, they literally have to do paperwork.
So it's all so what you're telling me is they say fuck the trees.
They've made a stand.
Okay.
This environment thing is out.
All right. That's what you want to do. Well, I guess you got to do more digging to find out more things if it's on paper than if it's digital.
It slows things down.
They're trying to hide some stuff. I see what you're doing.
That particular entity isn't even connected to a network. It's not connected to the internet. They can't transfer this information electronically. It's literally by mail. It gets delivered by mail. It's crazy.
Wow.
So the IRS is not that far behind.
Yeah, they're all paper right too. Right?
Well, not all paper, but I mean, because I file mine electronically.
But they send us our W-2s. They don't email them to us.
So I can get mine electronically.
Okay. Well, certain jobs do.
Yeah. It just depends on how much they've paid to do that. But yeah, so essentially, this idea of them trying to defund the IRS is merely a bill to protect the rich, because this money would have gone into investigating why some millionaires and billionaires aren't paying their taxes. You know,
how do they know the loophole? Basically,
yeah.
What's the loophole? How can we close the loophole so they still have to pay us?
I'm assuming that many of them don't even know. They're not using a loophole. They're just making up donations, or they're reducing the value of things so they could say they took a loss, that sort of thing. And that's generally what these people would be investigating, is to see, is your $23 million home actually devalued because of whatever it is that you put in there? Like, you're taking a loss on this. Can we check?
Yeah.
And that's what some of the stuff. So the Republicans don't want them to do that. They don't want that to be, because those are their donors. These are people that they're trying to protect from this, so that they will continue to receive their donations. It's a very backhand shaking deal, whatever.
Okay.
It's pretty pathetic.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So ultimately, I don't have any issue with us having more IRS agents. I pay my taxes. I file my taxes on time, and I don't have an issue. I want everyone to pay their. If I'm having to pay them, everyone should pay them. That's what I believe.
I think we should just get away with paying taxes.
There's a movement right now that apparently there is no law in any book in this country that states that you have to pay federal taxes.
I've heard this too.
Yeah, and I'd like to find more about it, because apparently when the IRS agents go after somebody that has that information or can prove that.
Is it Canada like that? You don't have to pay taxes in Canada?
Oh no, they pay taxes.
Okay.
They pay higher taxes than we do.
I don't know where it is.
Most of the countries on the planet that have some sort of universal health care or a public option for health care. Where is it?
Where they played the World Cup.
Oh, in Qatar.
Correct.
Qatar, however you say it.
And they can't earn interest on their money.
Oh, that's interesting.
Correct.
That's interesting. I don't know. That's that's weird. I guess it's just all oil money.
It is. When what they're doing, they a lot of people saying, well, this was on a podcast I heard, but basically a lot of people already know that the oil they have will eventually run out.
That is true.
So what they did was they bought a whole bunch of skyscrapers in like London and stuff like that, and that's going to transfer their money over. So their money will never stop. All that oil money will never stop. It'll just keep growing. That's the reason why they could get Cristiano Ronaldo for the price of that, because they're going to give him a skyscraper too with his name on it, and put it in London and be like, hey, that's ours. These are facts, baby. These are facts. I love the conspiracy, but I love the music. Boy. I love the music. You know what I'm saying? I had a lot of time at home when I had COVID, so I was just doing a lot of
research.
Well, I wouldn't call it research. Just looking at podcasts, man. You know.
Yeah. Do you have any conspiracies?
Let me see, man.
Like I say, because we have a few more minutes. I'm curious. You heard there's a February 1st and 2nd. There is very likely, as long as the weather holds up here in South Carolina, we should be able to see a green comet.
A green comet.
Green comet. And I have a theory. Have you ever seen the movie Maximum Overdrive by Stephen King?
I can't.
It's the one. It's the one where the comet makes a. It's coming towards Earth, and that comet affects all of the mechanical and electrical things on the planet, where vehicles and microwaves and everything start attacking human beings because of this comet that is a green comet, and that's. It's like a bluish green.
If it wasn't green, we wouldn't fuck up anything?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Stephen King's a genius when it comes to writing things that are not going to make sense when you try to put it together.
Hey, man,
there's a clown living in the sewer.
Let me see. Conspiracies.
I think it'll be cool. I look forward to seeing it.
I like it.
This comet hasn't come around in more than 50,000 years. Like,
really?
Yeah. There were no pyramids. Or there were no, the pyramids of Giza were not there.
Oh, I think you just woke me up.
Oh.
I don't even need my phone anymore. I heard this on the podcast too. They say.
Who is they? We don't know who they is. Okay, they say.
But they say that the Jews built the pyramids.
I don't feel like that's a conspiracy. I feel pretty certain the Jews did build the pyramids.
You feel like
under the rule of the pharaohs, yeah.
Well, there's still Jews around. I haven't seen them build the pyramids. I'm gonna need some.
You need video evidence of Jews building pyramids.
Because other than that, I'm still gonna think the aliens did it.
I feel like, and I've seen Prince of Egypt, the cartoon.
Correct.
Does that count? No.
Yes.
Would that count? Okay.
But that's not.
Yeah, they weren't building the pyramids.
No, they weren't building the pyramids.
I did see a video of a guy who was trying to explain how all of these similar buildings, as far as like pyramids and mounds and things like that, he took a globe and he traced a line across. And apparently, and again, this is conspiracy, and I don't know if I completely subscribe to it.
We got the music, so we're good. This is allegedly.
He drew a line all the way around the globe, and they're all on the same line.
With the pyramids?
So pyramids in
skyscrapers
in Giza, and then pyramids in Mexico, not Mexico, in Ecuador, and things like. So like, it goes all the way around the planet. And it's odd.
Yeah.
I don't know if his line is correct or the spots that
might have some up and down.
It could be.
Maybe like a beep.
But the fact that some of what was built, say in Latin America or in South America,
correct,
in form matches things that were built in Africa and in Egypt, and then also some things that were built like in China and in parts of Asia.
Correct.
And it's not like there were people that were going to each of these locations and doing them, because some of these buildings and mounds and things like that, they were done thousands and thousands of years apart.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Let me ask you another question, man. What do you think was harder to build? What do you think is more amazing as far as like a structure? Pyramids or the Great Wall of China?
Oh, goodness. I've not ever been to either. Honestly, I'm going to say the Great Wall.
I think so too.
And mostly just because of the fact that it spans such a great distance.
Mm-hmm.
And it ultimately was built. It didn't take as long to. I think it didn't take as long to build the Great Wall as it did the Great Pyramid. Like it took longer to build the Great Pyramid than it did the Great Wall.
Maybe DT should follow that in.
And the fact that neither one, they never hooked up. The Great Pyramid and the Great Wall. Ultimately, wouldn't that be the greatest connection?
The greatest of all time.
That's gonna do it for this week. That's gonna do it for this week's episode.
It's all about nothing, man. We're making circles around you suckers out there. All you job turkeys, you better calm down, because we are back 2023. We ain't playing with you. Once we get Zach DeGrasse Tyson back up in here, we're really coming for it all, baby.
Thank you, Nique the Geek, engineer and producer, owner and operator of GOT Sound Studio. Check out details on how you can utilize his talent and production expertise at gotsoundstudio.com. Thanks to Muff the Producer. Follow him on Instagram at Muff the Producer. Thanks to Trent Clark, aka DJ Lonzo, currently serving as the house DJ at the main course in Columbia, South Carolina. Make sure to go by and have a good time. You can contact Trent for all your entertainment needs. Trent at theallaboutnothing.com and on Instagram at TheRealDJLonzo. On Twitter at DJ Lonzo Top 5. You can also phone him 803-262-7982. If you enjoy the show, consider becoming a patron by visiting our website and clicking at the link at the top of the browser that will take you to our Patreon page. You can find details on how you become a supporter, or you can check out benefits there and just consider a donation so that we can continue to bring you this nonsense. We enjoy doing it. We enjoy you enjoying it. As always, you can follow us on Facebook. Just search for All About Nothing US, on Twitter and Instagram at AAN_pod, or you can find links to all of our social media and available podcast platforms by visiting theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be heard on the show, you may call and leave us a message, 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is too far apart, you can fill that time by checking out some of our partner podcasts. Zach and I host What the Pod Was That with Carrie Simmons. Visit whatthepodwasthat.com for links and details. Carrie and Chrissy host Status Macabre. You can find details at statusmacabre.com. Ami Bland takes a deep dive down the rabbit hole in episodes of Welcome to Wonderland, available on all of your podcast listening platforms. As well, you should check out our own DJ Lonzo's Top 5, hosted by Trent Clark, available on most of your podcast listening platforms.
That is going to do it for this week's episode of the All About Nothing. You all stay safe and have a week.
This The All About Nothing podcast is recorded live from the Maddie Johnson podcast studio at GOT Sound Studio in Columbia, South Carolina. The All About Nothing podcast is produced and engineered by Nique the Geek, owner and operator of GOT Sound Studio. To support the show, please visit theallaboutnothing.com for links to social media, merchandise, and more. Become a patron of the show by following the Patreon link at the top of our page. The All About Nothing podcast is an entertainment product of Barrett Gruber. Special thanks to Zach King, Trent Clark, Muff the Producer, Nique the Geek, and you, our listeners. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share. If you're on YouTube, please hit the like button and the notification bell. Thank you for listening.
The All About Nothing podcast is a part of the GOT Podcast Network and a product of Barrett Gruber Entertainment and Media.